Okay, I'm going to talk about some graphical enhancements that I've been making to Final Fight, and also just a general talk about palettes and different trade-offs and considerations, that I've been making. And also, there's been some work done on handling certain situations that were, corner cases that I kind of always knew were problems, but I hadn't decided which direction I wanted to go, in terms of handling them. Basically just undefined behavior. So to start off with the palette stuff, I can kind of illustrate sort of what's going on with this and why it's kind of an issue. So these are just screen grabs from the CPS2 Final Fight hack. The same guys that did the hack of the arcade Final Fight to allow for 3 players, they also ported Final Fight to CPS2 hardware, and so that's an interesting project where you can basically play the original game only without any slowdown or things like that, and they also basically kind of like put in a bunch of random palettes for the players and enemies. But I wanted just to highlight kind of like one of the limitations that you have with the original Final Fight data, and basically what I did. So you can see, like, for example, they have this kind of gold Hager, but notice, because to preserve the quality of the belt here and suspender, they basically, you have to keep, the same color is also the same color that's used for like the darkest part of his pants, and so basically you can't color one without coloring the other. Basically the data just isn't there in the graphics, and it's the same problem that you have like with Cody, where the lightest part of his pants is basically like the same value that gets applied to like the lightest area of his shirt, like here, and so you can't change one without the other, and so basically what I did in my version is I split up all the graphics so that we could basically essentially add more information to the graphics, and so you can see here. Let me bring it up here. So basically, like, these are the skins that I composite, with Hager, and so basically it's like a multi-pass process where we have this overlay, and we have the original graphic, and basically what we do is we take the original graphic, and then we change the colors in it, and then changing the colors changes everything. But then we have this skin that we can then composite with it, and because the skin basically has like the original belt and like suspender color defined, it allows us to change essentially just the color of the top of the strap and the color of his pants, and basically, and you can kind of see the difference. Like, if let me bring up an older version of this. I want idle. So you can see, like, in the last version I put out, see how, like, even though this is the green palette, basically because you didn't want to make the belt and the belt strap green too, you basically had to accept the fact that part of his pants there, it just had to be like the dark color, like almost black. And it just really, like, wasn't ideal. And so what this allows me to do is, when we create the palettes now, we can actually uniquely color those parts of the graphic, and it lets us do all kinds of like nice stuff. Like, for example, I'll do Hager first. So you can see, if I pick like a green Hager, see how like his belt and strap are still dark, but I'm able to actually make his pants just different shades of green. I mean, so basically, in my version, there's just more graphics data. There's just more unique pixels that you can assign unique values to, and that gives you a lot of flexibility because basically, there are a lot of things like if you want to do certain kinds like light colors, like if you want to make him have like white pants, you just can't do it without looking like complete shit unless you do this because basically you can't make his like belt like a really kind of light almost white color without it just like not looking good. But this gives you the ability to preserve the belt but still do the pants and the strap with a unique color. And basically like you can see that stuff like all over the place. I mean like it's the same thing with Cody where I mean actually it really applies to most of the characters honestly. Like you can see with Cody, see I can make Cody's pants green without actually making like the main part of his shoes and his shirt green because basically I have unique colors there. And so like I said, it's just more to work with. You can do more. I mean, if you wanted to make a shirt a different color, you could. But honestly, I don't really think it looks very good. I think it looks better when you just target certain stuff. And like another extreme example of this too is with like the fat guys in the game. Because of their palettes, like you can just see it just looking at them. Like if we look at this guy here, I mean you can just see how the lightest parts of his pants are the same color values that are going to be used for parts of his shirt. And so so basically before you couldn't make him have like red pants without making his shirt red, and it looked like shit. But in mine though, because I have unique colors, like see what I can do? I can actually make his pants and different parts green and still actually keep like a white shirt color there. So it's like I said, it's just basically just more flexibility. You can do more stuff. It's just like basically the graphics just have more data than they had in the original. I mean, and also I mean the real reason you're able to get away with stuff like that too is on original hardware you had like 16 colors, per sprite, and obviously with a PC game like this doesn't even matter. I mean you can basically do whatever you want. And so it's just so much more flexibility. And like I said, I'm able to do that with like all kinds of characters. Like I can just basically arbitrarily color stuff. I can composite different images and just decide like, okay, I like in the original game these colors were the same, but I can actually make them different. So it's nice. It's a lot of flexibility. It's like the same problem with even Guy. Like it's kind of difficult to change his palette in certain ways without changing the color of his skin, and that looks like shit too. Like that's something that was just always a real pet peeve of mine. Like I always hated it in like Super Street Fighter 2 when you would pick some like weird dark orange variant of Guile or something, and it would like change the color of his skin and make him have like orange skin. I always hated that shit. And so you'll notice in my version of Final Fight that essentially none of the palette swaps actually like change like the color of a character's skin. It's always preserved because I don't have that problem. I can just say, what, I can basically composite skin with the image and preserve anything I want to preserve, and so I basically end up with graphics that have more unique pixels. So there's another thing that was going on is like, so basically you could set up some contrived scenarios where basically there was some undefined behavior and I hadn't decided like how I really wanted to handle it. So like let me load up MAME here just so I can like illustrate this. So basically in the original Final Fight, the grab behavior is actually pretty different than it is in my version because honestly, I always thought the grab behavior sucked balls in the original game. I never liked it. Like basically in the original Final Fight, when you grab somebody with Hager, you can just randomly drop somebody and you don't even know fucking why. Like you pick somebody up and then they just fall out of your hands. Sometimes you hold them for a while, sometimes you don't. It's almost random. It's unpredictable. It blows. But you'll notice though. So I just want to go over some behavioral stuff here though. Oh, if anybody's alive here. But so basically in the original game, they didn't really want to deal with certain scenarios. So like, if I can get here, basically, if you're grabbing somebody, oh god, it blows being forced to pick up weapons. If you grab somebody, you can't jump on top of the dustbin. See that? See how when I was grabbing them, it didn't let me do it. And the reason they didn't do it is because they didn't want to handle different scenarios, because there are some problematic scenarios that can arise from that. And so, but that blows, and that sucks, and so I that behavior is awful. And so in my version, I do let you pick up people and jump on top of objects. But there were some scenarios though where it opens a whole can of worms, because it goes back to kind of an issue of how the art in this game was done. So so let me just show you here, for example. So basically, I can pick somebody up and I can take right, I can do that. But see, the thing is, so let's just say that like I'm standing here, right? Somebody else is playing the game, and then they punch out the barrels beneath you, right? So your character is gonna fall. So then you kind of have to decide, like, how am I going to handle that situation? Like, am I going to make them drop the character? Am I going to just allow them to play out whichever animation they were in the middle of in midair? And depending on how you decide, how you decide that behavior is going to go, it has an impact with the graphics. Because here's the thing about the original Final Fight's graphics. In the original Final Fight, they baked the shadows into the graphics. They didn't separate them. See, like if we look at this frame, see they actually baked in the shadow. It's just part of it, and it creates a problem, because basically if you have scenarios, and that's another thing too, where like I put in a lot of effort to resolve this. I mean, even though it's like it's just minutia, right? It's just such like a minor thing. It just always it really fucking irritates me if I see a character in midair, but you can still see a shadow he's casting on the ground into sprite. And so basically, so then it just becomes a question. It's like, so let's just say, for example, Hager's in the middle of this animation, and somebody punches out the drum can that he's standing on top of. Do you make him play out this animation while falling? And if you do you have to go in and create a version that doesn't have the shadow, like that, and then that's your graphic, and basically, like what the conclusion I eventually came to was, I basically like my general attitude towards doing this is that I don't want to fuck up original graphics. I want to preserve the original graphics, and the thing is, it's like it would have been easy to say, you know what, let's just make it like Street Fighter 2. Let's remove all of the shadows from every sprite. Fuck it, and then we'll just make generic blob shadows that we use when they're on the ground or they're on the air, and then it's just like a simple just on or off. If they're in air, you display the blob shadow, and if they're on the ground, if they're on the ground, you display the blob shadow, and so on. It doesn't matter. But I really wanted to preserve the original graphics, because it really is part of the art, like they're weird shadows, like they're I mean, somebody drew them, right? But it's part of the data, and so it was important for me not to lose that. And at the same time, I didn't actually want to have essentially like double the sprites for like every frame of animation, like one with and without the shadow. And so what I basically settled on, was the following behavior. Essentially, if you're a character like, Andore or Hager, basically somebody who could pick somebody up, grab them, carry them, and jump in the air with them, the behavior that I ended up with was, if somebody, if I'm grabbing somebody and I'm on top of something and somebody knocks it out, I'll basically switch to my grab jump animation. So, even if I'm in the middle of like another animation, I'll basically revert to oops. I just instinctively want to okay, come on, here we go. So yeah, so he'll just switch to that grab jump frame. And basically, that is a decent enough solution, even though there are like some anomalies that I'll get into. Yeah, but so that's the behavior for people who can essentially like carry and jump when they're grabbing someone. We'll switch to that animation. So but if it's somebody like Guy, the behavior is we'll actually make him drop the guy that he's grabbing. So for example, like I mean it's gonna be kind of a bitch to set this up. See if I can do it. Do this contrived scenario. So I'm taking Hagar. I'm taking a guy up here, and then I'll jump up here with Guy. What a pain in the ass. Okay. They're gonna try to. Come on. Okay. So now, yeah, they have a little grab immunity after they're dropped. So basically, so now I'm gonna go down. Actually, maybe I don't need to do that. I can probably just do a Hagar special attack to knock out the drum cans. So basically, now if the drum cans are knocked out underneath Guy, he's actually going to drop Jake here. See, so basically, so those are like the two types of behavior I defined. Because otherwise, if you don't do something like that, then you open that can of worms where it's like, okay, so now do I have to have like if we look at Guy's art, are you going to do something like let's see if I can find it. I'm looking for like his throwing animation. Yeah, here for example. It's like, are you going to go in and are you going to say, oh shit, now I need a different version of this without the shadows? Because if he's because if he's like grabbing somebody like that in the middle of that, or if he's in the middle of like this animation, do I have to create like a separate sprite that doesn't have the shadow? See, it just opens a whole fucking can of worms, and I really didn't want to get into that. I mean the thing is, if I had unlimited time and I didn't have a job, I probably would be psychotic enough to go in and actually split all of the baked in shadows into separate textures, and then do a composite where you can basically just say like, do I want to show the baked in shadow or not? I mean that's like the kind of pie in the sky. If we lived in a perfect world, I would probably do it. But I mean the thing is, you don't really. I mean, this is such a corner case. You like when you're playing the game, you spend very little time actually standing on top of objects. You spend very little time doing it. So so that's why I haven't gone like full psychopath yet. But I mean having said that, I probably will end up doing it. But it's going to be something where I'll probably that might be something that I'll go back and do like after the game is sort of done. Because it does irritate me a little bit, and the thing is too. I mean, it's like and you can see too how I did kind of already start on this track because I have been thinking about this stuff for a while. Like I mean, even if you go back and look at like old versions, you can see how I have like a throw air sprite. I even started like creating, alternate frames that didn't have the sprite baked in, so say like if Hagar was in the middle of a suplex and then whatever was under him got knocked out, it would switch to this, and then basically the suplex would just become like an air suplex while he was falling down, something like that. I mean like I said, that is kind of like the pie in the sky thing, but it's like for now though, he's just going to revert to his like grab jump animation, and I'm not open. So basically, this is actually unused right now in the game, just because I haven't fully gone down that psychotic road yet. But it is something interesting to think about. I mean, and the other thing too is it's like you might say, well, why don't you just do like the typical like Mortal Kombat style shadows where you essentially just do a copy, like a black copy of the current frame, and you just squish it and just distort it so that it kind of looks like a shadow. But the thing is, that isn't Final Fight. Like that kind of shadow. If you do that, it doesn't look like Final Fight anymore. And so I'm a real stickler where like it all has to really be, basically, authentic art. And so that's really the reason that you're going down this rabbit hole, because like I said, I don't want to give up the original shadow data that's in the graphics. I don't want to lose that, because it really is, as I said, basically in like every standing frame of the game, somebody drew it. It's just it's part of the art. So that's the thoughts that are going into that. And another minor thing was that Robbie JVC actually mentioned a video about the Game Boy Advance Final Fight. And I was looking at the video. I never really paid much attention to the Game Boy Advance Final Fight because it was just like so obviously a piece of shit. But the interesting thing though, that about it is that in the industrial stage in the game, it has one unique feature that no other version of Final Fight has, and that is the slag at the bottom of the stage actually scrolls independently. And in pure and because I'm crazy in the coconut, I just said, what, like I can't handle the fact that some other version of Final Fight has something that mine doesn't. And so, in true, psychopath fashion, I went in there and, split up, the graphics for that, so that I could do that effect. And so now you'll notice that in the industrial entrance stage, see how the lava scrolls independently than like the bottom of like the slag pit there, and you can see like when you play, see how it scrolls independently. And I think it's pretty nice. I think it pretty much works, And what I like about this too is, it's like, and so now you can just basically say like, yeah, the Game Boy Advance version of Final Fight is now completely worthless. It has nothing anymore. It has nothing. There's not a single thing it does, over any other version of the game. So I kind of like that. I like invalidating shitty versions of games, so there isn't an excuse for people to say, oh yeah, but the version of does this. Yeah, fuck off. So that's just minor enhancement there. There have been like a ton of other things too that I've been working on. Just a lot of tweaking. I probably should put out. Yeah, I probably should do a Thanksgiving version, huh? But yeah, it's it's coming along. But yeah, like I said, the shadow thing really is. It's an interesting problem. The real right way to do it would be to split out the shadow. And see, here's another thing too. I can illustrate. It's another reason that it would be kind of neat to split up the graphics, because you'll notice that in this version it does have the feature where you can actually let me see if I can screenshot this. So I did add in the feature where you can set the color of the shadow in different stages. So each stage can actually have like a different shadow color, kind of like in the same way that Street Fighter 2, they change the palette on the shadows depending on the stage. And the thing is, it makes it like if you split up the shadows into separate textures, it makes it really trivial to color them. The other thing too is, and that's kind of the other thing also that went into this. See, like I wanted to make it like really easy for somebody who just just wasn't a programmer or anything, just to go. I mean, it's just like you can just look at the assets folder and say, okay, there's just a bunch of PNG files. I can just edit these, bam. Like I don't have to do anything. I can just change the graphics. It's so easy. But it is really tempting to actually make a custom graphics format, so that you can just do this kind of shit, because there is a lot of mileage that I could get out of it for like different types of games. Like for example, if you were to create like a custom graphics format where you could basically define that like this pixel is a shadow, this pixel isn't a shadow, and then like in your pixel shader you could write a pixel shader that looked at it at the value and just said like, oh, okay, the pixel shader knows that the object is in air, and it knows that this pixel is a shadow, so I just will zero it out in this case. See, you could, and you could also like color the baked-in shadows like the ones that you see, when you're jumping in air. You could do all that kind of shit. So it is kind of tempting, and it would also let you kind of do, like lighting effects too, where you could say like the Molotov cocktail maybe. If you're in the basement stage and it happens to be like dim because the lights are out, you could define like, okay, well, these pixels are always full bright, so they don't get basically, we don't factor in the lighting on the stage when drawing that pixel. So you could basically make like the flame on the Molotov separately, like always bright, even when like the stage gets dark. You could do so. I mean, like I said, these are all things that I'm aware of, and have kind of bothered me in the back of my head. But like for the time being, I'm kind of ignoring that. But then again, like on the flip side, the argument that I've been wrestling with is, it's like, I mean, really, I mean, even though it's like super easy to edit the graphics right now, and that's all well and good. I mean, the truth is, I don't know, like, why do you really need to edit the graphics, right? Because the other thing too is, it's like right now we have the advantage where we can say, okay, you could actually make each palette, or like each color variation of a character unique, beyond just changing the color of their like clothes or something, because they're separate graphics. But it is also pretty inefficient. Like if I go the other route and I actually make a custom graphics format, I mean, basically, you don't need all the variations of each frame of animation. You could just have one, and then you're just you're changing the palette programmatically. So it's a trade-off. It's like you can make the game smaller, you can make it load faster, and you could also potentially get some benefits where you could do some neat stuff programmatically, with the shadows and lighting, other things like that. So I'm just making this video just to go into all the considerations when you're doing this stuff, like different things that you want to think about.